Finally, something I got on my SD card. Okay. Let's try this again. Seeing as how Google doesn't want to cooperate. So my theory behind spirituality is completely different from anybody else's, which everybody else's would be, in theory, unless you're just following the herd, which is part of my theory. So basically, what my theory is it starts with your spirit. It starts with your consciousness, basically. Your physical being has a positive or negative charge, right? So that plays into your consciousness. It plays into into how your mind actually moves the neurons through your brain, right? So your neural tract, it makes you think differently. So what it does is whenever you have this positive mindset, it makes you think positively. Whenever you have a negative mindset, it makes you think negatively. And you can change it based on what you put in your body, what you put out of your body, how you actually interact with the things you're around. Basic stuff, right? So your consciousness, however, that is your spirit. And that is what a lot of churches and religions teach, is your consciousness is your spirit, right? So to take that on and put it in a physical meaning, that means that whatever your charge is in your body, positive or negative, that's your spiritual being. So if you're positive being, positive. If you're a negative being, negative. What happens is the opposite. If you're a positive being, you actually give up your positivity and become more negative. If you're a negative person, you actually give up negativity and get positive charges, right? So a positive person is negatively charged. A negative person is positively charged. I know it sounds backwards, but if you know science and physics and stuff, it'll make sense here in a second. So my theory is that your conscious is basically the same thing as your spirit. So if you are a positive person, you have a negative spirit. If you are a negative person, you have a positive spirit. And this will come into play in my explanation. What happens is, when you die, your spirit moves in between different universes. Everything in our universe, we can see galaxies, stars, matter, energy, everything in our universe, but we can't see any other universe. And that's where string theory comes in, is because string theory says that there are multiple universes with multiple different ways, with things that have changed just slightly enough to make things different. And my theory on that is it's more of like a galaxy. There is a nucleus, and then there are these outside universes that are around this nucleus, and each one of them differs slightly. And they all have a positive or negative charge based on where they're at and based on the consciousness or the spirit that's in them. So what happens is, when you die, based on your charge, your spirit, you go to a universe. You never actually die. Your conscious, your spirit doesn't die. The only way that you lose your spirit is if you are consistently that bad person that repels themselves away from the nucleus. And the nucleus is positive. So you have to be a positive person, give up your positivity, right? Put it out. So your spirit is negative, and it pulls you towards the nucleus. And the nucleus is heaven. The nucleus never goes away. Eternal life forever. You are always in that nucleus. That universe is the perfect one. You can get close, you can get farther away, but it's all about the charges. It's all about the energy. And this brings in a bunch of different religions. It brings in Christianity with heaven and hell, eternal life. It brings in what goes on earth, trials, tribulations, because it's all, that is the physical matter, but the spiritual matter is heaven, hell, and life. It brings in being reborn. So if you were to be reincarnated, in Eastern beliefs, that would be you moving to a different universe and being reincarnated there. But if you were bad, you'd be something less. If you were good, you'd be something more. But it's all about your conscious. So it brings in a bunch of different religions and puts them together into a kind of, it's not a visual representation, it's just a representation. I've tried to make it visual because I can't do it with my hands, because there is this center heaven and then just layers and layers of universes out to the end. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to be such a negative person that you give out so much negativity that your positivity shoots all the way back out into nowhere. And then collapses back in. Because what happens is, that's hell. That's where every spirit that goes and they die, that last bit of positivity comes back and it hits them hard in the face. And it just adds to that positive. It's just constant smashing together. Particle physics, maybe? I don't know how you would want to look at it. I'm trying to figure out what kind of gamut this has. This is something that I've never been able to describe so clearly. But it means something. And it means something to me, and I think it means something to a lot of people. And I think that they don't know how to portray it in words, because whenever you talk about religion, most people look at religion and don't comprehend astral physics and stuff like that. It's just a way of life. So I don't, trying to explain this with my obviously limited vocabulary and moderate understanding of the fields that I'm trying to speak of. I'm pretty sure that this is a viable theory. And I'm pretty sure that this is what our ancestors meant by heaven, hell, being rebirthed, going through things. Because in reality, if you haven't died once, you're not going to understand being reborn. And once you have died multiple times and you're aware that you have died multiple times and you've been conscious and you have like lived through the differences, then you will know the effects. And so it's something like relative to like the Berenstein Bear theory, whatever that, what is that called? The what effect? You probably know it. But whenever you relate it to that, it's like, no, this was different. This wasn't the way I remember it. And it's that one little change because you moved from one universe to another. And it's that little change. That's all it is. But that means you've died once. Because in your head, you remember it. When you go back to that memory and it's different, then what happened? And what happened was you died. And the universe that your spirit, your conscience went to and inhabited the brain of that person that you were going to be, that's the universe they were in. And there's infinite numbers of universes, down to the numbers of electrons that there are in atoms in every galaxy in the universe. That's how many universes there are. Infinite. To the -1. So a letter was different, picture was different, the way you look at somebody and see that their face, you don't remember them having a droopy eye, you don't remember them. Things change every day, but things change a lot whenever you change into a different universe, because you're on a track, and that's what keeps you alive. And you can either advance in that track or not. That's just my thoughts. And if they're completely reversed, it still works the same way. If positive and negative were completely reversed and hell was in the center and heaven was on the outside, it would work the same way. Except heaven would be a release and hell would be eternally living to deal with dying every day. So it depends on how you look at your life. And that's a personal choice. Just like listening to this and putting any effort or thought into it. So I just want to say that I think that was something weighing heavy on my mind and something I wanted to get off my chest and actually make this video just so that I could rewatch it. Just so that I could remind myself of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish in my life. Because I don't want to go through hell to get to heaven. No, I'd rather just straight. Wouldn't we all? We don't all get that chance. Some of us. So yeah. And I'm not saying any religion's wrong, because I think they're all partially right. But I think a lot is left to be learned, and I think that science can play a big part in making all of our futures better, or worse. And I think people just need to learn that there is something more, and if you really want to learn about something more, then you need to learn the science of something more, because that's the only way. So good luck, good riddance, however you take it. Conservation of energy. One of you's gonna have to go to hell so I can go to heaven. So, fuck you.